around, I saw an interview with Matt and Dan McDonald. And when I heard your story about helping your father, I'm actually currently helping a family member as well. So I think when you're in this field and you're really passionate about health and healing and the power of detoxification, the power of raw and living foods, it's very dear to your heart. And so helping a family member is, I think everyone in this field would like to help all of their family as much as possible. But anyway, when I heard your story, I just was like, wow, I really want to talk to you more about your dad, his journey, and then more about you, how you got into this and just really got on this path of healing. So,
Sure.
yeah, I'll let you just kind of start wherever you want. Maybe tell us just where your dad started and then how you working with him has literally transformed his life. It's very powerful.
Sure, of course. Yeah, like you said, anytime you can help family members is truly powerful. Anybody in general, but when it hits home, your closest people around you, it is a really powerful movement. And that's what happened to me back in 2019. I had previously been 3 years in this lifestyle where my brother and I decided one day to jump right in and start doing a solid food vacation. We both went 100 plus days on our first go. We were ready. We were both sick. We were both tired, out of shape and a lot of ailments, and which led to us going through that journey together, very successfully with the help of so many, before us. This, like I like to say, I'm standing on the shoulder of giants.
Right.
John Rose, Dan McDonald. These guys are, a wealth full of knowledge that is in just so invaluable to humanity. So we did that whole route, and I'll get back to that. But 2019, it came to my dad said, "Hey, guys, I've seen what you've done with yourselves." And I'm not feeling good myself. My dad at the time was type 2 diabetic. He was driving trucks for Boeing at the time, and it came up to him that he needed to do a driver's test. And if he wasn't able to get his blood pressure below a certain level, that he wasn't going to be able to continue employment with them. So he's like, not only is that, that's my career, I need to keep that, but I my eyesight is going very, very rapidly downhill. At the time when he approached me, he was almost legally blind. And as a driver, you can just not carry on. You have high blood pressure, you're overweight, and many other things. So I said, okay, well, I know, my method and procedures that I learned from the greats before me work every time. They work every time. And I had coached people prior to my dad and seen fantastic results. And so I was like, okay, Dad, you come with me. You listen to everything that I have learned over the past, 3 years of high level juice detoxification.
Mhm.
Um, and we'll get you down the road to not only getting your health back, but we'll get your job, we'll keep your job and so much more. So he's like, okay, I'm all in. Show me the way. And so we got him started on a juice protocol, and he went in feet first like us. He didn't, he wasn't resistant. My dad was so open, which makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
You sit down with him and you go over the full protocol, and he was just like, no, I'm not pushing back on anything. I agree with everything you're saying. Let's do this. So um, within 7 days, I'm sorry, 3 days, his blood pressure, boom, normalized instantly. I mean, and we're starting on, lemon ginger blasts, and a lot of the times they say don't go straight into the fruit, go into the heavy greens to kind of ease people in. But I didn't think my dad really had that kind of time to do that. So I did kind of start with the green juices, but then we went in and we just hit it hard with high amounts of really astringent fruits. I mean, we were doing orange juices, we were doing apple juice, we were doing watermelon. I mean, we were hitting it very, very hard, and he had no problems with it. He was not experiencing any symptoms as far as cleansing goes, which was surprising. I mean, my
Yeah.
dad at the time, gosh, was I think 65 years old, and did not lead what you would call a healthy lifestyle. So to
Did
see
he go,
somebody,
sorry to interrupt, but did he go
yeah,
from just eating basically standard American diet right into 100% juice only feasting?
100%, yes.
Wow.
And you'll talk to people that say, "Hey, you can't do that. You got to transition somebody in slowly." And it's like when you listen to what John Rose and I took to this right away. John Rose is like, "No, you concentrate that many fruits and vegetables all into that juice and you go right into it." He's
Mhm.
if you try to transition somebody for 2, 3 weeks, they're going to get, a fraction of the amount of fruits and vegetables you would get on a juice cleanse. I mean, you're concentrating that all in there. You get that structured living hydration into your cells, and you start cleansing and really deep intercellular hydrating all of your cells, your tissues in your body. So let's just go. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
I,
so
I
we
agree with that too, because I think the slow tiptoe in approach, people, they don't get a radical shift. And so it's
right.
easy to be like, oh, this doesn't really work. And they go through a slow detox, like a slow burn. And so they feel cruddy for a long time. Where I think if you jump all in and just go for it, they'll have a few rough days, but then the light bulb pops on really quick and they start
Yes.
seeing the results and the change really quick. I think that's a lot more motivating to get people to actually then go the distance.
Oh, absolutely. And he was seeing it. And with going aggressive like that, like I said, 3 days, blood pressure stabilized, normalized. Within 21 days, he no longer had type 2 diabetes. I mean, his doctors they were just, they didn't want to accept it because they were giving him pushback even after they're like, well, your numbers say that technically you're not type 2 diabetic anymore, but we're still very concerned. Does your son is he a doctor? Does he, all that kind of stuff that we
Right.
always get, right? We're not smart enough to heal our own bodies. Mother Earth didn't provide us every tool at, her disposal to allow us to heal ourselves. So so 21 days, no more type 2 diabetes. And he was on a roll. He was already feeling like, on cloud nine the whole time. He was like, Matt, I just can't believe what you were saying is true. It was all real, what you guys have been doing the last 3 years. And I kind of sit back and I enjoy it. I take it in because as a health coach and somebody who's practiced on themselves for over 10 years, you
Mhm.
kind of, you internally know what is true. I mean, your body knows, your mind, the vibration, you can feel that this is the truth. And when you try to kind of relay it to people, you met with the rolled eyes and the kind of like veer off looking somewhere else. And you're like, man, this ain't connecting because they haven't been involved with it. And so I know what's going to happen. It's just to get those people to kind of like come along with you and see for themselves, like my dad did. And when that spark, lit inside of him, I knew I had him. And he
Yeah.
was just like, let's keep going. And so then we kept going. And it wasn't a massive variety. It's not like this juice cleanse that I did is like, it's not like a luxury resort. Like you're gonna have this one day and you're gonna have this one day. It's a therapy, and it's like here are your juices. We're going to get you calories. We're going to get you flushed, and we're going to keep going. You're going to do your exercises. You're going to do your rebounding. We're going to do, your skin brushing. We're going to do deep breathing exercises. We're going to do cold showers, cold plunges, saunas, all that kind of stuff. And so my dad took to everything, and so we were coasting. And about day 30, I decided, well, you know what? I know I really want to hit and make sure that his macular degeneration, which was his eyesight, I really wanted to kind of supplement it a little bit. I knew the juice was going to eventually break him free of all that inflammation and all that. But then, so I implemented using Rick Simpson oil.
Mm.
And so we went very aggressive on that. And so I know Rick Simpson in his methods tries to get 60 grams of Rick Simpson oil in you within 60 days. And so I said, okay, here we go. So we're going to start you off slowly, let you kind of, adapt to it. And my dad, he's a seasoned vet in all that kind of area of his life. He was he grew up in the 60s and 70s and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, well, if you can do it, let's do it. And so we started him off, I think a week later at a gram of Rick Simpson oil. Um,
So I'm not familiar with Rick Simpson oil. What is that?
so Rick Simpson oil is a highly concentrated oil extracted from the cannabis plant.
Okay, so it's
Usually yeah.
like a CBD oil? Is that what it would be considered?
It
Or,
w- it this is actually the indica, so it's very high THC.
oh, okay,
Very,
okay.
yeah, very little CBD, which CBD is wonderful for us, but the THC in the from the indica variety is known to absolutely just anti-inflame your body. I mean, plants, they all are going to be anti-inflammatory, but I thought,
Mhm.
okay, this has been known to alleviate people's cancer, stage four cancers, and without them having to even shift their diet, which
Wow.
I wouldn't recommend that route. But if
Right.
somebody was coming to me and said, look, I can't change, do you know something out there? And I've studied and I've seen thousands and thousands of cases of where people are just, consuming Rick Simpson oil and it's reversing a lot of their diseases. And so I
Wow.
thought, okay, well, let's infuse this juice cleanse and see what we can do. So he did that. He did the
Yeah.
60.
Yeah, sorry, just one more thing on the Rick
Sure.
Simpson oil. So is it psychoactive? Because some people are sensitive, like they never got into smoking or anything because they have a sensitivity to it. Other people did it, recreationally, they enjoy it
Yeah.
or whatever. And then I knew a lady that was probably in her late 80s or 90s, and she had Alzheimer's, and she had a lot of anxiety. So they were giving her THC drops to counteract her anxiety. And so I was just wondering, is that the oil that, for the anti-inflammatory and the anti-cancer, is it also psychoactive? So was your dad feeling a little funny with it, or?
Yeah, so that's the thing is, and I had heard that if you were to infuse it with coconut oil and put it in the freezer and use it more of a suppository, that is supposed to bypass somehow when your liver breaks it down, that it bypasses all the psychoactive properties. We never did that with my dad because he was never afraid. I said, Dad, if you do the oil version straight sublingually, you will feel the effects. And
Interesting.
if anybody out there knows anything about, concentrated Rick Simpson oil, I mean, you're getting up into the 70% concentrate of cannabis. I mean, that's going to take an elephant out, essentially. But so
Was he able to function? Like,
So
was he
he
able to?
was. So
Okay.
he adapted very quickly. Like the first week it was, I had to be there with him and make sure that he was drinking his juice. And I don't want to like, scare anybody or
Right.
anything
No,
like
this
that,
is
but
good. Yeah.
yeah, these are all plants. They're all herbs. They are the true medicines of the earth for our bodies. So you use the medicines temporarily to get yourself back to a state of health along with the juices and everything like that. And yeah, he didn't stay on it for long. Like I said, 1 gram a day for 60 days, and he completed all that. But yeah, he was able to function once his body became adapted. And after a while, he was taking the gram and he was just functioning normally, just having normal conversations, very energetic, very upbeat. But it is going to be psychoactive. That's for sure. So,
And then,
um,
using it this way therapeutically, then did he stop using it and have any effects afterwards, like any like withdrawals or anything like, or even psychological attachment or addiction to it?
None whatsoever. That was the thing is and I said, after we had completed the fast, I said, Dad, you can pull back now. You don't have any symptoms, and I'll get to the his eye results and all that kind of
Okay.
stuff. But
Yeah,
after
yeah.
we had come off, I said, you can pull back. We don't need to continue using that. Now you can microdose if you want to keep it going. But I said, honestly, since you're on fruits and vegetables now, all raw diet, you're not gonna your inflammation. I mean, he shed 80 pounds in those 90 days. I mean, it was, and they kept coming off every day, 2, 3 pounds a day. I mean, it was very consistent. And I know from my clients, my female clients versus my male, the men typically lose a little bit more weight and they can do it a little bit quicker.
Mhm.
Not to say that the results from the women aren't absolutely astounding, which they are. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you have a client
Mhm.
that you'll be talking about that has, released over 100 pounds, which is unbelievable. And I mean,
Yeah.
you did that for, you helped her do that. So it's incredible. But so yeah, they can consistently, lose a lot of weight on both sides. But yeah, no, he shed all that weight. He had no inflammation. He'd worked a lot of blue collar jobs his whole life, so he had a lot of knee pain. He had knee surgeries. He had shoulder, back issues and stuff like that. After that, I was just like, Dad, look, you look like a marathon runner. I mean, he literally did. He was spry. When he talked, he was just full of life. He was just like, man, I can't believe I feel so good. He would call me days after and show me pictures of a 64-ounce jar of orange juice. He's still loving the juice after. You'd think 90 days of juice, I don't want to see another thing. But no, banana smoothies, juices, all that kind of stuff, salads, high energy, high vibrating, luscious salads. So,
This is really powerful, and I think a lot of people don't realize the connection between detoxification and shifting your cravings and the foods
yes.
that you prefer. Because I see so many people, they've been trying to release weight or heal something or whatever for years or maybe even decades, and they're just trying to like willpower it through without ever putting like a pattern disruptor, is what I call it. So you're doing one thing, and then you insert a juice cleanse, and all of a sudden, you're changing your daily habits, but you're changing the biochemistry of your body.
Yes.
And I've had this experience in many clients. I had one client that did a 1 week, she was a woman, she did a 1 week juice cleanse and released 6 pounds in 7 days. So,
Oh,
lose a pound
yeah.
a day is not out of the ballpark. And she told me, so she went into it, with food cravings and wanting to lose weight and all of these things. By the end of just 7 days on juice, she was telling me, she said, I only crave fruits and vegetables. She said, I'm not even thinking about those foods. And so that's how people can delete those cravings and not have to like strong arm it with willpower, but it's easy. It's like it's a complete mindset shift and a complete shift in your body to where then if you're naturally craving those foods, then it's much easier to sustain. Where somebody that's over there, like at the burger joint or whatever, they're looking from that state of consciousness. They're looking from that
Yeah.
place and saying, "Oh, I could never give up meat. I could never give up cheese, or whatever it is that they feel like they love, or they feel
Yeah.
like they're attached to." And it's like, okay, well, you can. This is at least how I do it. I say, okay, well, you can have those after 30 days or 60 days or however long we're going to go. It's like, okay, so just put it on the back shelf. Don't tell yourself no or your mind will have a tantrum. Just put it on the back shelf, and then let's just do this and focus all in on this. And every time it's like you come out the other end, you're thinking, why did I feel like that those foods were so important? And sometimes people do backslide, but then they feel it. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
those are not the foods my body wants.
You're right. And my clients and myself, especially when I first did this, after you experience that much hydration, and I'm talking like true hydration, not like, hey, 8 ounces of water 8 times a day that literally flushes all your electrolytes. It's not even structured, it's not living, and it's full of fluoride and chlorine and all, 100 plus chemicals. When you truly hydrate your body at the deep intercellular level for that long of a period of time, and you get all that simple sugar flowing through your body, it's almost ridiculous to think that you would ever want to go back to that fatty, cholesterol, inflammatory sodium bomb of a burger. You know what I mean? It's just like
Right.
I couldn't even imagine it. So now you break those habits, you get your taste buds back on track to where your body was designed to do, and it's like you wake up, you have a water meal. I have a water meal every day. It's lemon cayenne water, or sometimes I'll have lemon honey cayenne water, but you get your hydration going, and then you have a juice, and then I'll have a smoothie, or I'll just eat, 5 pounds of mangoes, and then I can't wait for that nightly salad, which is even more hydration, and it's just like your body is craving that living water. And you just retrain yourself, and it's not even a retrain, it's basically a reset back to how we were designed to live on this planet. And yeah, I see it more often than not that with clients, once they go through this, they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea how inflamed I was. My fingers, I could see my tendons now, and and all that kind of stuff. And it's like you can move, you just feel so good. And
Especially getting the salt out. That's a
oh my
huge
gosh.
thing.
Yes.
I used to experiment with it. I didn't actually know I was experimenting, but because I've done different things and I've tried different things and I've gone, I've been 100% raw, I've done water fast, juice cleanses, and then gone back into cooked foods and, back
Sure.
and forth. Uh, when I get rid of the cooked foods and especially the salt, I literally gain 30% flexibility in my yoga postures and everything. The body just completely opens up and
Yeah.
becomes free. And I think, wow, people don't realize, even healthy, like here, I'm just outside Sedona and there's a raw vegan, restaurant that serves some raw vegan dishes called Chocolate Tree. And it's
Hmm.
good and I like to go there, but they do put salt in the crackers and dehydrated crackers and things.
Yeah.
And I can feel that salt. I mean, that's a big one. I think when people really go the distance and clean out their body, a lot of people that are into raw foods and detoxification will say that the salt addiction is really the like final frontier and the hardest one
Yes.
to break. And I think doing a juice cleanse or juice feast is a great way to stop that trajectory and redirect yourself, redirect your body onto a higher path.
It really is, and in the juice cleanse too, if somebody is like having that, like, gosh, I just need this salt, I need something. I'm like, hey, you want salt? I'll give you salt. Here's, 32 ounces of celery juice. Try this on for size. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Why am I feeling like this? I feel like I hear my clients are like, why do I feel euphoria? I feel almost like, and I was like, well, that's the oxygen. It's bringing your body high levels of oxygen into every cell. Plus, you're getting a sodium that you cannot find anywhere else in the world. The salt in celery is one of a kind. It's unique, and it's the kind that our body loves. It's still those electrolytes that our body needs. And so it will give you that. They're like, you either get the, oh, okay, that's what I needed, or I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so salty, I can't handle it. So either way, it's good. Either way, it's good. So there's a lot of ways you can give them that little, dose that they're looking for,
Right.
which is a healthy version. And I didn't even know this, but were you aware, like, and I learned this from Dan McDonald recently, and I thought I'd heard him say everything, but recently on one of his videos, he was talking about why table salt is so much different than Himalayan or the Redmond's sea salt and all that kind of stuff. And um, I thought it was just like, oh, it's ionized salt and all that kind of stuff. But really, how they process it, they use glass and other means to break down the salt, and so that ends up into the table salt. So if you're consuming the table salt, it's not so much that the sodium is the horrible part for it, it's that glass now gets into your body, and it does little through your blood cells, it will micro cuts everywhere. And so your body is like, hey, I'm in a state of I needing repair.
Heck,
So then it will start bringing up the blood to repair those, and now your blood pressure rises, and that's why people get such a high blood pressure level rising in their body, because you have microcuts from the glass particles in that processed salt. Not all of it is due to that. I know the ionized salt is not good for us, the table salt, but I was unaware about that, and I was like, wow, that's fascinating. So if you steer
yeah.
clear of that and you get the natural salts through, our lettuces and our celery and various other vegetables and greens and stuff, you're going to be just fine. So,
Yeah. And
um,
We'll get back to your because you were going somewhere with the oil and your father's eyesight.
Yeah, I
I
get
wanted
way
to
off
mention
track.
no, that's okay. I wanted to mention something though, real quick about the euphoria. So you were
Yeah.
talking about, some of your clients or people, family members, or whoever you're working with. So I've been teaching yoga at these detox retreats around the United States here, and they're run by a company called Raw Living Spirulina. Are you familiar with them?
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay, so it's amazing. They're out of Florida, and that's like one of the best places climate-wise for the spirulina to grow. And people know about spirulina, and they go to the grocery store, the health food store, and they buy this package of raw spirulina. Well,
Hmm.
the label raw is not regulated, so it's just raw materials, but most of those are heat dried, and they're not actually truly raw, like what we would consider raw, not heated
Right.
above, 115 or whatever. So this is actually raw spirulina, and they grow it super high quality growing conditions, and they ship it refrigerated in an ice box,
Oh,
and it comes in these little jars, and it's gooey, kind of like it's not as dense as peanut butter, but maybe kind of like a whipped cream, a little denser than that. But anyway, it's this soft texture, and it tastes radically better than the powdered spirulina can taste a little bit fishy. And
hmm.
so this stuff, it's fresh and it's actually living, like you eat it anyway. One of the first retreats, I've done juice cleanse, feasts and fasting retreats and different things like that. So I was just expecting, oh, okay, we're going to do juices. They do it they rent these houses, and they have like 12 to 15 guests, and then there's about four staff. And then we just give the people juice. They get a lot of education. Of course, they get yoga classes. So I thought I knew what I was getting into. Anyway, we were doing one of these in Colorado, and they brought out the spirulina, and they make a lot of green juices, and they also ship coconuts from Florida to like wherever the retreat is so they can
Oh
have
yeah.
fresh. I mean, they do everything
Oh wow.
super high quality.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were putting the spirulina, and I don't know if I just got like a mega dose or whatever, but we were standing in the kitchen and I was drinking, green juice. I've had them before. All of a sudden, speaking of cannabis, I never was into smoking because I don't like the way that I just don't like it.
Yeah.
And plus, smoke isn't good for your lungs. But even
Right.
like other ways that are more healthy, like I don't know if you know, John Kohler was juicing,
Yeah.
like cannabis leaves, and then he didn't know that it
Sure.
was going to be psychoactive. And he's like, "Oh no, I was high for 3 days." So anyway, I'm more of that type. Like I don't really like the way that that feels, but I was drinking this, and all of a sudden I talked to Tim. He's the guy. Tim and his wife Georgiana are the ones that own the Spirulina company, and they run these retreats. I was like, Tim, I'm feeling really good. Like, what did you put in the juice? He said that's the spirulina because it is such a super, super high concentration of alkaloids, and like you said, the oxygen and
Wow.
all of those alkaline minerals. And yeah, so I think people are looking to feel better.
Yeah.
That's why they go for the junk food. That's why they go for the fast food and that kind of crack hit. That's why they go for the white sugar, the alcohol, or the drugs. And if people knew how euphoric and blissful a super healthy, hydrated, balanced body that's gotten enough sleep, that's made contact with nature, that's taken time to digest the events of the day through meditation or yoga, there's such a natural high that I feel is our birthright. And most people on this planet are missing it because they were raised on the junk foods and the Oreos and the, just polluting their body. And then people get so polluted, they lose motivation, they lose
Hmm.
inspiration, they become dull. That spark and that will to live even can disappear. And
Oh yeah.
so this is just so powerful at transforming a person's life. And in a little bit, I'll get into one of my clients, Celeste. I mean, her entire life transformed. But
Yeah. Oh, I
that was a
know.
little side thing. So yeah, let's go back to your dad. And so you
Sure.
had him on the oil. Is he still doing that or not?
Yeah, he does. He does
Okay.
now. He does the microdosing of the oils
Okay.
still. I think he had seen so much wonderful benefits from both the juice and that, but that really helped him. So a little bit extra. My dad had struggled with alcoholism
Mhm.
for majority of his life, and so by doing this on top of the juice and everything, he told me he was like, "Gosh, anytime I would have like the cravings, because he was still having a little bit on the juice for a little while, but when we started the Rick Simpson, he noticed that it would completely take his cravings away. There was nothing left. He's like, and then after a while, he wouldn't even get cravings. He would get the thought in his mind of like, okay, a beer or something or a drink or something, and then it would just quickly pass. It was just almost kind of like, here's a fleeting thought, and then it was gone. And so he was like, I don't know if I can 100% attribute that to the Rick Simpson oil, but I've seen correlation from when I started it to loss of cravings. And now, yeah. And so he was like, he was so happy to not have had a drink at the time for 30 days that he was like, okay, well, I'm just going to continue this on. And I was like, of course, continue it on. Like number one, I want to get rid of I want to help your eyes. And then if this is giving you those results, for by all means, continue on as long as you want. So he's continued it on well past the juice cleanse. But so getting back to that, so he was 30 days started Rick Simpson. Now we're into 60 days, and now we're at 70 days where he scheduled his eye appointment. A couple months prior to that, when he started the juice cleanse, he's like he was so confident in what we were doing that he told his doctors, he's like, okay, I'll give you 2 months. I'll come back and I'll do an eye exam, and I'm gonna blow you guys away. And they're like, well, we don't really, okay, we hope you do, but realistically, we don't see this happening. He told them all about what he was going to do, about how his son was going to help him. And another set of doctors were really, really, discouraging him from going down this route. They're like, you're going to make it worse. That all that sugar is just going to wreak havoc on your body. Your eye, you could potentially be legally blind by the time you come and see us. And he was like, well, we all have free will. So let me try my way, and then, we can take a look at your way if it doesn't work. So day 70, he goes in to his eye appointment, and his doctor is doing tests. They do blood work and all this kind of stuff. And he walked into the room and he was silent. And my dad was, like, okay, doc, so what's the word? And he was like, first of all, I don't know what you've been doing, and I don't know how you've been doing it. I don't know how you're able to have gotten back to a 20/20 vision, but whatever you've done, do not stop it. And he was like, and then he started talking to him about what we've been doing. And he's like, hold on. The doctor left the room, came back with two of his colleagues in the practice and said, look at his results. He's telling us that his son put him on a juice detoxification program. He's been doing that for the last 70 days. These are the results. They're like, well, honestly, we still wouldn't recommend doing this to our to our clients coming in. But whatever you've done, don't ever stop it and keep going, because there's no way we could have given you the same results. And I mean, that's coming out of the mouth of the doctors,
There you go.
still not wanting to recommend their clients because they don't understand. Doctors do not understand how the body works. They understand parts of it, like specialists. Hey, they know the eyes. You have your oncologists who specialize in cancer and all that kind of stuff. They treat parts of the body when they don't realize our body is not parts. It's one whole system. And if one system is sick and in dis-ease, then the whole body is in that state,
Right.
all at once. So,
That's why Charlotte Gerson said you can't heal one disease and keep two others.
no,
Because when the
that's
body heals, everything heals.
everything
And
healed.
the thing is, I feel bad for the medical profession right now because it's collapsing rapidly
Yes, it
because
is.
all the information is coming out. And I
Yeah.
know good people who got into it thinking they were actually going to help people with their health, but it's a specific paradigm. There's certain things that are good, pain management, surgery, if it's, emergency surgeries. But, they're just trained in a particular paradigm. And
Yes.
I heard a powerful story. Are you familiar with Tanya Zavasta?
No, I'm not.
So she's a Russian lady, and she wrote several books in raw food. She was a lot more like kind of prominent maybe 10, 15 years ago. Anyway, she's very smart lady. I don't remember her educational background, but I think she had a master's degree in like mechanical engineering and mathematics or something.
Oh
And
yeah.
she got into raw foods and just loved what it did for her beauty. And so she kind of took that angle on it and started getting lectures and teaching people how to do raw foods. Anyway, I don't know how she got into this, but she gave a lecture at a dietitian conference,
Hmm.
like, like a medical, like, I don't know, registered dietitians or something.
Yeah.
And so here's Tanya Zavasta talking all about like basically everything outside the box that they learned in, their dietetics training.
Yeah.
And you'll see this like in the hospitals where they serve literally red jello and this kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
like, how
Yes.
many carbs do you have, with the
Yeah.
diabetes? And
Chocolate pudding.
yeah, so anyway, she gave this lecture and she could feel as she was, and she's living proof. And
Mhm.
she had also testimonials. And I think a lot of this stuff, if anyone's kind of sensitive, you can just feel it. You can
Yes.
just see it. Like, look at the produce section, look at the cardboard boxes. It's not
Hmm.
rocket science from that level. But so she was talking, and as she went on in her presentation, she could just feel the room was just getting heavier and thicker and heavier and thicker, and they didn't like it. And
Yeah.
there's probably many reasons for that. I'm sure some of them genuinely believe that she was teaching something wrong. I
Hmm.
think the majority of them sensed the truth in it, but they all of a sudden it's like, well, now what do I do? And she
Yeah.
had a lady come up to her. She basically, they didn't boo her out, but she did get kind of the cold shoulder. And she finished her presentation, and it was not a very warm reception.
Hmm.
But one of the dietitians came up to her at the end of the talk and she said, you know what? I know everything you're teaching is absolutely correct, but I can't do it. I'll lose my license. If I implement what you're teaching in my practice and in my job, I will lose my license. I'll lose my job. So, it's a sad state of affairs when the truth, and this may be why the eye doctors are saying, well, I mean, I had a dentist once and I asked him about nutrition. He's like, well, I can't talk about that's, you have to talk to a dietitian about that. And I was like, well, I think nutrition does affect the teeth. Why can you not talk to me? But I think there's all of these legal barriers where if you're the dentist, you can't be giving diet advice and eye
Right.
doctors. And so I think it's a difficult position to be in when you've invested, I don't know how much it costs to go to medical school, a lot,
Oh wow.
$100,000 or
Oh
more,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and all of this time and energy learning, and it's heavily influenced, of course, by the pharmaceutical industry.
Hmm.
All the educational, journals and things have advertising money that sponsor them from all of this
Oh
thing.
yeah.
And so now you've gone through all of this. You thought you were going to be helping people heal just to wake up and realize. And I think there was a huge awakening in that system throughout the whole COVID thing.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
Big
now,
time.
people realizing it's like, wow, what I'm teaching isn't actually helping people heal. And there's a frustration there. And there's also a different kind of person. So I think I had a nurse many years ago when my husband and I were first getting into this, and we were doing green smoothies and
Hmm.
really just jumping into it. It was really exciting. And she was watching what we were doing and she said, I'm really seeing two kinds of people in the world right now. She said, there's my patients that come to me and they basically do whatever they want. And then they say, well, how are you going to fix it? Putting the responsibility on the practitioner, on the nurse
Yeah.
in this case. And she said, and then there's people like you and your husband who are like, what am I going to do? This is my body. So what am I going to do to take care of myself and make sure I have the best chance for a healthy, vibrant life, good energy, pain-free, longevity, beauty, the whole package. And I really do see that. And so I think many medical professionals are kind of in the tight place where people come, they've trashed their health, and they're not willing, like you said, not willing to make the changes because they've maybe gone so far down in that hole, like we were talking about, because it's not just physical, it's mental, emotional too. These things are literally affecting our emotional body, depression, dark thoughts. I had a friend talk, we walked by some junk food, and she says, yeah, depression food. It's
Yeah.
true. It's like you eat it when you're depressed and it makes you depressed and it just feeds back in that cycle. And so I'm thankful to be on the side of the renaissance and the awakening in the health and
Yes.
wellness field and watching that transformation. And it's just snowballing, with people like legends like John Rose and Dr.
Yeah.
Robert Morse and Dan
Hmm.
McDonald. I mean, there's just so many voices and they're multiplying. And the people who are ready, they're ripe and they're ready to bloom. They're the ones that dial into this message and they're like, oh yeah, this, I can feel it intuitively. And then, like your dad, I mean, bless his heart for going all in, and he completely changed his life.
Yeah, he
80
definitely.
pounds, went from almost nearly legally blind to 2020.
The
I mean,
2020, no more type 2 diabetes. And I tell people that that's blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, inflammation, super easy to get rid of. And
right.
people are like, you can't say that. You can't say that you get rid of diseases. It's like, I'll say it all day long. I'll say it all day long. These are not, and people really start looking at you crazy when you're like, these aren't diseases. These are not something that's externally coming and attacking you. It's not coming from the dark shadows or something. Like especially with cancer and stuff. This is not something happening to us. All of these are symptoms of our consumption. We are
Mhm.
literally eating all of our inflammation, our diabetes, our cancers. Now, there are instances where, we have environmental issues with, chemtrails, the
Right.
heavy metals just raining down on us. We have pesticides. Our neighbors, you walk outside, and it's hard because I've gotten so clean over the years, and people think I'm like this weird, like, I'm not hypochondriac, but I'm like, I walk outside and I'm like, oh man, I can smell my neighbor's dryer sheets. Those
Yeah.
phthalates and all that kind of stuff is directly affecting my central nervous system, my endocrine system. I don't like it. It's offensive, and it's like, I take pride in my health and being clean, but you have your herbicides, your fertilizers, it's everywhere around us. So I would say 95% of all of our diseases we are consuming, and it's all by consuming the wrong types of foods. We've been taught, like John Rose, I know but the five main mistakes. The first mistake that we're making is cooking our food. We're altering our food. It's not the way it was designed for humans to, live on this planet. So, I mean, it's just the amount of cognitive dissonance out there. It's very hard to kind of get through the fog and get through to people. I'm like, what you're trying to say. But when you have instances like this, where, my father was very, very, in poor health. I was in poor health. My brother was in poor health. I mean,
Mhm.
and you test an idea whose time has come, and you really do dive into this raw food movement, juice cleanse, and all this stuff, and you lift that veil that has been like placed very delicately over your eyes and very purposefully. You were getting to it, the whole, the Rockefeller Foundation, with how they infiltrated the medical system way back in the days, way back in the 20s, and completely changed the landscape. Before that, they were using herbs. I mean, herbs is, humans' natural medication. They can't patent a plant, but they can create some chemicals to kind of mimic it, and now get you addicted, keep you sick, and then keep you a lifelong customer until you eventually, succumb to, horrible diseases. So, um, yeah, when you can lift that veil and really, really, test the waters, the living structured waters, and get that in your body, oh boy, it's unlike a feeling that I've ever, no alcohol, no drug can reproduce the true feeling of these endorphins that you get in this,
Right.
all the biophoton energy running through every cell. I mean, all your cells now are connecting, they're communicating at like split second rates. You're firing on all engines, or on all cylinders. And yeah, all the electricity from the fruit, and then you get your bare feet in the earth. You get in the electricity from the earth, and you're just a light living being. And it's
And it shows, people
yes,
can see. I mean, my husband can actually tell when people juice or not. He's like, oh, yeah, that we'll see somebody at the health food store, like, yeah, he probably juices. And there's a
yes.
guy here in town that's a raw foodist, and we picked him out of the crowd. We were looking at him, and we ended up talking to him, and he's a really cool guy. He's in his 70s. And Sure enough, he's a raw foodist, and it shows. I mean, you can
Yeah.
tell it shows on people's skin. And had
Yeah.
anybody make comments to your dad and seeing? I mean, 80 pounds is.
Oh, I mean, everybody, people he knew couldn't believe it. They didn't recognize him. People he didn't knew there didn't know. They were just like, "Wow, you look fantastic for, you're 65, 66. You look fantastic for your age. How do you keep so slim?" And I mean, he was energized. I mean, he was walking daily. He was exercising just in his conversations, like I kind of am, I kind of have to pull myself back. My wife kind of just jokes with me. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you kind of dial it down a little bit." I'm like, "Sorry, this is just how I feel. And I've only had water today. I've only had lemon cayenne water today. And I'm just like, just vibrant. You were just so energized. And so that's how he was. And people, it's almost like it's not even what they're witnessing. It's almost that aura that's coming off of you.
Mhm.
You are emitting that high frequency because you have the high frequency from all those living foods in
It's
your
the
cells.
sun. If you
Yes,
think about all of life on this planet comes from the sun.
that is it.
And that's the most vibrant thing in our reality here. And when you're taking in all that sunlight energy through the juices and the raw foods, you become a type of sun. I mean, it just
Oh
lights
boy.
up all your cells. And so, yeah, and it's funny what you said because we must be very similar. My mom in the past, because like you, I mean, I've been looking after her health and encouraging
Hmm.
her, and she's amazing. She's in her 70s. She's not on any medications.
Yeah.
She's got a healthy body weight. She's traveling around and living her life. And it's like all of her friends are getting this surgery, that surgery. They're on a bunch of
Yes.
meds and things. And she hasn't been, perfect. I think most people that go this path, they haven't been 100% perfect, but it's just
Oh no.
staying the course. It's kind of like they say an airplane is never really on course. It's always course correcting, but it gets to the destination. And so I think that's a big piece of this is knowing everybody goes off track. Like that's part of
Of
life.
course.
That's natural, but it's what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Do you allow it to just spiral down into the dumps or do you click back into remembering? And that's, I think, the most powerful thing about going all in. You can't forget that. You can't forget
Right.
that euphoria and that energy and how good you look and feel and people commenting on it, reversing disease. Like I mentioned earlier, I had a client, Celeste. She came to me, she
Hmm.
was 300 pounds and she had
Unreal.
been vegan for, I think, 2 years. And she had
Hmm.
lost a little bit of weight. I don't remember what it was, but I don't think it was over probably 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And she was in a pretty dark place. She had a whole bunch of conditions. And the biggest thing I would say is she was struggling with anxiety, depression, and debilitating panic attacks. And this is
Yes.
the thing I think people don't realize that connection between physical health and mental health.
Hmm.
And so I actually did my undergraduate degree in psychology, and I quickly learned that I didn't really resonate with the methods that they were using to help people. And then, of course, getting into yoga and meditation and a lot more alternative paths, I'm so thankful I didn't really go down that route because, it goes a different way. Not to say there aren't good therapists in that sphere, but it's just usually kind of a different paradigm.
Hmm.
But anyway, at that point, the solution to mental health issues was maybe behavioral therapy, maybe some drugs, psychoactive, or what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, so when Celeste had all these mental health issues, I don't know if she realized that changing the way that she ate was going to affect her mental health. She came to me because she wanted to lose weight because she was working from home and then it came up that she had to then travel for an in-person work event and she was horrified because she had been hiding, basically just behind her desk.
Yeah.
And because of her weight, for this event, she had to purchase 2 plane tickets, which was not only demoralizing, but also expensive. And
Yeah.
so that's when she came to me. And within, I don't know, I wrote down some of the, just for our talk, I wrote down some of the things that she went through. So, same thing, we started on detoxification. In the
Yep.
first week, she lost 11 pounds.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
yeah, and this is the thing is, of course, the more somebody has to lose, the faster it goes in the beginning. And so the
Sure.
first week, she dropped 11 pounds. And then within 10 weeks, she had lost 30 pounds. And then I think it was over about a year that she actually surpassed the 100-pound weight loss mark. But that was kind of like the cherry on top because as she went through this process, everything else changed. Like we were talking about,
Mhm.
when the body heals, everything heals. So she came to lose weight, got on the raw food path, stuck with it almost 100%. She did have a few
Mhm.
little, slip ups here and there, but she ended up getting off of 11 different medications. She had
Unreal.
peripheral arterial disease, PAD, which I'm not super familiar with all these disease names, but
Yeah, me
she
either.
had digestive issues, GERD, she had IBS, she had high blood pressure, she
Mhm.
chronic pain and chronic fatigue. And I mean, just this simple thing. It wasn't easy because she did have to show up and do the work and, stay the course, but it radically transformed her life. And so,
Yeah.
100 pounds is a lot of weight. But the biggest thing is she went from being in that dark hole of depression and anxiety to where she's like excited about life. And she actually took off on a whole new kind of opening in her career. I think she was doing sales and marketing before, but now she's gotten into she's an animal intuitive,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
she's
yeah.
doing energy work and all of this. So she's really deeply connected to nature and animals. So she just blossomed in sort of her professional and spiritual life were able to come together. And it's just a complete 180. And there's no drug on the planet that can do that. It's
No.
like it comes from health and it comes from cleaning out. I mean, this is the thing too, because I work a lot with the emotional side. And when people, and I'd be curious if your dad went through this,
Mhm.
because men don't tend to share it maybe as much as women do, and maybe not so much with his son. But that toxicity and that stagnation in the body is holding on to old traumas as well.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's an emotional detoxification that happens. A lot of times I refer to it as multidimensional detoxification because you go on a juice cleanse, but all of a sudden, all those things that were being pushed down with food and overeating or emotional eating, now there's space. And what happens in
Yeah.
space? When we create space in the body begins to detoxify and heal. And when we
Yeah.
create space in the energetic field, because we're not dulling the emotions with foods, now it's like those old things start to surface. And my feeling and my belief and view is that the number one reason people don't stay the course is because of the emotions.
Yeah. It gets
Is they
uncomfortable.
Yeah, they start feeling, and they may not know that's what it is. They may just
Mhm.
feel like restlessness or bored or uneasy. They don't know what's going on. And somehow they just know it'd be easier to go back to the pizza. So they just
Mhm.
think, oh, this is too hard or whatever. And I think, I don't know, I raised my hand somehow.
Yes,
Some
we
kind of AI
can I
hand
help
raise.
you? No.
Yeah, that was funny. But I think it's really important when people go through a detoxification protocol, even if their goal is physical healing. I think it's really
Mhm.
important that they take care of that emotional side as well, because that can be, can start with the mindset, limiting beliefs, either, oh, this isn't safe or whatever, or those food attachments, like I said, okay, just put that on the back shelf. And I mean, that's what I did with myself. So I was
Yeah.
45 pounds overweight when I started this.
Mhm.
And ironically, that's when my husband and I got together. So we got together when I was at my heaviest, and I was not comfortable in my skin. I was
Yeah.
self-conscious, and I had been trying for about 10 years throughout my 20s. And the
Mhm.
biggest thing for me was sugar addiction. And that's
Oh
why
yeah.
the Dr. Robert Morse and the fruitarian path just
Yes.
totally hit for me because it was the first time in my life. So let me back up a little bit. I tried the raw food, like more of the gourmet raw foods with more
Mhm.
salads and like nuts and seeds and things. And it just was never sustainable. I just kept going back to cooked food,
Yeah.
even though I had done some juice cleansing and things like that. But when I got onto the fruitarian thing, and actually it was Doug Graham's 80-10-10, I read that book and it was so simple. I was like, I'm just going to try this. And I was seeing people, having success, YouTubers like Freely and Tanny Raw and different people. I was like, okay, let me give this a try. And it was so easy after 10 years, struggling and like battling sugar addiction and all these cravings, getting on the fruit path. I finally satisfied my natural sweet tooth. And
Mhm.
then I figured out that if I would eat enough fruit, I had no desire for any like cookies, candies, ice cream. And I even tested it because I knew I couldn't tell my mind, like, you can never have this food again, because it never worked
Yeah.
for me to do that. It was
No.
like you would have like the inner rebel, like, no, I want it. So I did what I was just describing. I said, okay, you can have all of those foods, but take 2 months, take 3 months, 30 days, whatever. I don't remember what the time frame I had in mind, but like, let's do this for a period of time. And I just went all in with the, I did a lot of colon cleansing and different things too,
Hmm.
but mostly it was the high amounts of fruit. And I remember I was releasing weight super easy, super
Yeah.
quickly. And I actually wasn't exercising at that time, even though I recommend it. Just
Hmm.
my lifestyle, I wasn't really able to. So it was purely diet. And I got to a place like I had probably already released 10 or 15 pounds, and I was at the health food store and I said, okay, you had cravings for cheese and these goodies and all these things. So you've been on this for a long time. So I'm talking to like myself here, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm giving you permission to just have what you want. You've made
Mhm.
a lot of good progress, and so you deserve, to treat yourself and go ahead, like free, like no guilt, free reign. And I went there and I stood and I looked at the candy bars, zero desire.
You're
And
like,
that,
no,
I mean, and I was a big, like every day I would eat like two or three candy bars or ice bowl. I like had to have something every day. It's in my family.
I was a
So
big ice cream Snickers guy. I would eat them by the case. I'm not joking. It was
those
it
are
was
so good.
ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I just proved it in my own self that here I had the green light to have whatever I wanted, and I just simply didn't want it. And then
Yeah,
that's when I knew I'm not going to struggle with my weight the rest of my life because I got it figured out. It's like once you learn, and I think it's the same thing, like you said, this formula or this recipe, it works for everything.
it
It
really
works for
does.
mental health, it works for addictions, it works for eating disorders, it works
Hmm.
for obesity. It just, if it, and the reason it works is because it's in alignment with nature.
It
It's in
is.
alignment with truth.
And you can have abundance. I mean, you do not have to limit yourself. Like when you want to sit down, you have a sweet tooth, you're hungry, sit down to 5 pounds of mangoes or sit down to, 5 to 10 bananas if you wanted, go crazy. That you cannot gain weight on a fruit all fruit diet. Your body will regulate itself and bring you back to the natural state that you were supposed to be in. And it's fat. For me, like yourself, I love sweets.
Mhm.
And I mean, I can't get enough of them. My wife is always like, "Gosh, I can't do as many sweets as you can," because she's very high raw. Not all raw, but she eats a lot. My whole family does. They're very, very high raw, but they're like, "Gosh, we just need something." And I get it. I get that. Myself, I could eat sugar all day. Sugar, and I do. I mean, that's what I eat. So,
What's interesting is I kind of when so the fruitarian thing really like was hitting a high pitch maybe like 10 years ago. It was like
yeah.
really, I mean, it's still going strong now, but it really surged to the surface kind of around 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And I started noticing a pattern that people that had either personally a history of alcoholism or they had it in the family, that they took really well to the fruit path. And there's a guy, Jack, can't remember, well, I don't remember how to pronounce his last name, but you may have seen him. He's a little bit older, but he was alcoholic. And then he got
Hmm.
on the fruit path and he got off alcohol with fruit.
Was
And
that
it's
Jack
interesting.
Albritton?
Yeah, yeah, Albritton.
Yes. Yep. Hmm.
Yeah, and so I'd heard in the past that alcoholics, that part of it is like there is a sugar metabolism thing going on there with
Yeah.
the liver, and there's a connection. And so I also had alcoholism in my family genetics. And
Hmm.
so I think that sugar addiction and alcoholism are kind of interrelated. So
Yeah.
I think that's why fruit helps solve both of those issues so well.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I was consuming high amounts of alcohol myself when I decided to make this change too. I would never have considered myself an alcoholic. I was just like, casual when I would get together with family and friends. But it got to the point I was not feeling good. I mean, it was affecting me for sure. So I don't know if that had a lot to do with why I was so successful at going all, fruit all raw and stuff. I'm sure it had, something markers maybe, or like you're saying. But yeah, I took right to it. And I was like you, I found the 80-10-10 book, read it, and the light bulb clicked. I mean, it just turned on, and then I was like, my gosh, this is unreal. And then, 10 years ago, the height at Woodstock Fruit Festival was happening, and then you got to see all your favorites and learn from them. And then, okay, Banana Island, first thing I did, one week full of nothing but bananas. completely cleans you, cleans you out and gets your body reset. And you're like, okay, now you can start in on this high raw thing. And I did that for 6 months, nothing but raw. And then step back, as a lot of people do. It's trial and error and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm super grateful that I can, take abundance amount of sugar and never get sick of it. I just can't. So,
I'm curious. So you mentioned like little pieces of your story, but I'd be kind of
uh-huh.
curious, like where were you at physically, mentally, emotionally when you first found out about raw foods? Like, what was the light bulb moment for you, and what kind of inspired you to take this path to where now
So
you're helping other people heal?
yeah, it's funny because I wasn't like overweight at all. In fact, I was always an athlete. Since I was 5 years old, I played baseball, basketball, tennis, all throughout, very competitively through high school, and then well into my, mid 20s, late 20s. So I was in shape. I was going to the gym and all that kind of stuff. I was standard American, so I was physically in shape, but internally I wasn't. I was young at the time, so I wasn't really feeling the effects of all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But so I was at home one day, and I was off work, and my wife was working. She called me, and she's like, "Hey, I think I'm pregnant." And then it just like boom, everything just kind of like screeched to a halt, and I'm like, "Okay." And I just kind of took it in stride. I was like, "Oh, this is fantastic," it was great. It was just kind of like a surreal moment. I'm like, everything's going to be fine. This is great. And so we got off the phone and I happened to be in front of my computer and I was like, okay, click, click, click. What's the healthiest diet to, support my wife or, well, girlfriend at the time, during her pregnancy? And what's the healthiest, diet for a growing baby and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, you know how women do like the nesting? They're the natural, like, I don't know what it was. I just like tapped into the feminine side of me and I was like, okay, I gotta like start making sure everything's good. So ripped up my whole house, remodeled it, got everything ready, and then I started researching what is the best diet possible. And everything came up under the sun, and I didn't even know what veganism or anything plant-based was at the time. And it was a little square in the corner of my computer back in what was this? This was 2008. So it was still evolving. I mean, and a little square came up and I was like, what is this? Nature's Pilgrim. I saw a guy with a video and he was on YouTube and I was like, Nature's Pilgrim. Okay, I'll click it. What's this? The healthiest diet for humans. And I was like, oh, well, perfect. Let's watch it. He started talking about fruitarianism. And I was like, I don't even know what fruitarianism is. And so we started watching it, and he had this free PDF, this ebook. It was called Fruitarians Are the Future by Matt. His name was Matthew Warner, the guy that really got me into everything. And then I haven't heard from him ever since. I think he went so like raw and all that kind of stuff. Started to do a pilgrimage, left the country, and then I think he just left society. But anyway, so he got me. I know, I know. I mean, this guy was he was the most legit that I'd seen, and I never heard from him again, which is great because he's doing what he was, wanting to do. So, but anyways, so I read that whole book, watched all of his videos, and I'm like, I'm very open. I'm an open person. I don't think anything's crazy. Somebody brings a concept, hey, like, I'm channeling these people coming from the other side. I'm like, okay, I'll listen to them. So I'm very receptive to anything out there. And so I thought about it. I was like, all fruit, huh? You don't cook your food and all you eat is fruit and some, greens and stuff if you want some nuts and seeds, but they're saying all fruit. And I'm like, I could get down with this. Okay. And so I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to give something to somebody else, I'm doing it on myself first. So then I jumped right into it. 3 months into it, I mean, I shed weight like crazy. The first
You went
month,
straight into fruit.
I went straight into fruit. I went and
And
I
what
was
were
like,
you eating
okay,
before?
I was just eating standard before. I
Okay,
mean, I
standard
literally
American.
yeah, the day before I decided to go get 40 pounds of bananas and ripen them and everything because the book taught me quite a bit. I had
Mhm.
had like I think a pepperoni feta cheese pizza, like probably all to myself because when I did something, went like I do anything, I go all in. And that's
I'm
why I
totally.
probably am where I am right now because I go all in. So Yeah, I didn't transition slowly or anything. I'm like, okay, bananas are ripe. Let's do a week full of bananas. So I just started peeling them, started eating them, found I was like, oh my gosh, I can't get past like 3 or 4 bananas. So then I started blending them in smoothies and found that I was like, oh, I can get all of these down. And so I did that. I didn't think I was gonna, I think I freaked out like after 3 days and went and got Chipotle. And then
Yeah.
said, "This is not even possible. I don't know how anybody thinks this is possible." And then I had an aha moment. I was like, "No, you're just having your cravings. You're freaking out." This guy, he laid it all out there. Just get past it. You take a step back and you keep going. So I
Mhm.
kept going, and it clicked. A week turned into 2 to 3, a month, and then 2, and then 3, and I had shed a lot of weight. And I
A
didn't
month on
know. I mean,
bananas or just
just
on raw?
just on raw. I did bananas all for 7 days straight.
Okay.
And then I started just doing the way I knew how. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a banana smoothie in the morning, banana raspberry smoothie for lunch, and then I'm gonna have orange juice and some greens at night.
Hmm.
And I was blending them up. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of winging it. And so I started doing that and saw losing a lot of weight, feeling great. And I was like, okay. And I started doing a lot more research, and I started juicing wheatgrass for my wife every morning while she was pregnant because they're like, hey, a lot of great vitamin A, and you want, the good, healthy vitamin A from plants. You can get it as much as you want because they're always scaring you in the hospitals. You don't want to get too much vitamin A. It's so detrimental to the child, but they're not talking about plants. They're talking about supplement and all that kind of stuff. So I started juicing wheatgrass, and then I bought a Norwalk juicer and I started cold pressing all the juice for her every day and myself every day. And we just did that her entire pregnancy and everything. And that's what really sparked everything off. And then my first son was born, and I was like, well, I'm not stopping here. He's going to have, breast milk and all that kind of stuff. And then people will probably be like, you're crazy. But I was cold pressing green juice for him as well in his baby bottles. And he loved it so much that I had to cut the tip off of his bottles at the time. And I would give him his juice and he would fall back on his back and just tip the bottle. And you would just see the level just go, vroom, 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 vroom. And I did that for his life. He's drinking green juice to this day. And my youngest son, I did the same thing. He's drinking green juice to this day, eating smoothies, raw fruits and vegetables. My wife does the same. So that's kind of what got me into it. I attribute it to my first son being, going to be born into the world, and then me freaking out, thinking I needed to have everybody as healthy as possible, support my wife, my child, and all that stuff. And then it got me just down that whole rabbit hole of health and what's the best to support a family growing, what's going to be the healthiest for their life. And it led me down so many different paths. I couldn't even, I mean, we could talk for hours and hours about, how many roads I went down. So,
Oh yeah, because it's an opening. They talk about
oh,
like cannabis being a gateway drug, at least back in the
yeah.
80s, because I grew up in the 80s. They're like, oh, it's a gateway drug.
Yeah.
It's like, well, try some juice and see what kind of gateway that
Oh,
takes.
you are not wrong.
Like,
Seriously,
woo!
I know. Yeah. Oh, I mean, you go down, and that's just the health route. And then you start going into yoga, and then you go into the spiritual side of it. And then it's just like, sky is the limit now. Now I'm dealing with concepts I couldn't even imagine I would have been exposed to. And then you go down that whole conspiracy road and all that kind of stuff, which turns out they're not conspiracies. It's the truth,
Right,
but
right. Yeah.
you go down so far, and then you got to come back and be like, okay, I need to focus my energy on the good, positive things in our world, because you get sucked down that road, and you just, you put out what you want to get back. So that's where I'm at now. I focus on wanting to help people, and I
Mhm.
focus on wanting my family to be as healthy as possible, myself to be as healthy as possible, positivity, giving, emitting the love out there and giving people grace and being understanding, and, no more being angry out when traffic, somebody cuts you off and flips you off or something like that. It's just like, no. It's all, we were talking about Dolores Cannon before, and it's like, hey, I put that person in my life to test me in that moment. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm supposed to learn from it. I am. Okay. Give them grace, be patient, and boom, there you go. Burn karma.
That's right. Yeah, just alchemize that emotion, let it
That's
flow.
right. Yeah. So, but that was kind of like a quick kind of, intro to how I really got started on this. That was the true spark.
And you set your kids up for life. I mean, can you imagine? Because they say a lot of our microbiome is imprinted, through the
Yes.
breast milk and even in utero. So,
Right.
setting your kids up on that trajectory, that's amazing. I wish that
Yeah.
for every mother and child on the planet. It would be,
Oh, it is. It's a wonderful thing. And I thank my lucky stars. I'm so grateful every single day to wake up and to see my wife. She's super healthy. My boys are so healthy. I mean, they are and every parent's gonna say this, but I mean, literally, they are the most wonderful souls I could have ever have asked for. I mean, I have the most beautiful family ever, and I couldn't. If this was all I ever had right now at this moment, and we were talking about getting our, coaching practices really, going and everything, if this is all I ever had in my life right now, I would be the most satisfied man ever. I mean, the fact that I get to, hang out with my teenage boys, my wife every day. We make it a point. We go on family walks every single night. We go down to our favorite river. They watch their crazy dad do cold plunges in the river and film it all. And, we have this banter, where we pick on each other. We're having a good time. We're dreaming about the future. We're just doing it. Everything as a family. That's all I care about. And I just want to be a decent person. I want to be a great father and a great husband and a great example for other people so that I can give them exactly what I have. I want to give everybody what I have. And I know I can start that by lighting that fuse to their health journey through juice detoxification, clearing out all that stagnation, all those blockages that they might have in their whole internal system. You know, re just calibrating their gut because I believe, they say our gut is our second brain, right? But I
or
believe
maybe first.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. I truly believe it might be our first brain because if this is unhealthy, this will never be healthy, and it's a cycle. You keep both of them healthy, then you can then, emit that frequency to everybody else of joy and love and peace and abundance and kindness and everything and health. So that's what I really want.
Yeah, and just like you proved with your story with your dad, it's, if we live it and embody it, then the right people pick up on that and notice. He
Yes.
saw what you were doing, he saw what you're doing with your brothers, like, okay. So in a way, because you had mentioned before we started, there is a as a practitioner and wanting to help people, it can be frustrating. I mean, just the other day we were at the health food store and we were checking out, and the young man that was at the register, he had just horrible acne. He was
Yeah.
probably 17. He wasn't very old at all. Couldn't have been over 22. I mean, just really horrible acne. And I know that's difficult for him. He's probably self-conscious.
Yeah.
Maybe he's too self-conscious to get a girlfriend or whatever. And, I'm standing there and I'm thinking, I could cure this. Well, I couldn't, not saying I could cure, but I could give this man the information that he could cure
Yeah.
his own acne in a very short period of time, 1 month, 2 months. And at the same time, it's like over the years I've experienced that most people aren't super receptive to just like a cold approach. You're
No,
like,
they're
oh,
not.
by the way. So I struggle with that a lot. I've learned that, to put, of course, through my coaching business, it's like the people who want to do this come to me, but it can be more challenging with family members. I mean, you're
Yeah.
very fortunate that your dad was receptive, and my mom's been super receptive. But I think that one of the most challenging things for me is to see people like this young man, or see women that are overweight at the gym, and they're working really hard.
Yes, I
And I
know.
know I know they want that weight off, and that's not the right way to go about it. I mean, it's a good
No.
thing to do, but it's not
Sure.
going to work. So, yeah, being able to reach people, and I really do believe that living it is number one, because
Yes.
we're all interconnected, and people can kind of catch on to. I mean, that's what's going on in the whole planet. There's a whole awakening and a whole opening up in consciousness around all of this stuff, and it's just people like you, like me, like Dan McDonald, like Dr. Robert Morse, all of them who are just out there seeding and living it, and then it just begins, people's He seems different. What are you doing? And then
Yeah.
people have that opening, and when they're ripe, like my client Celeste, then they take right to it, like you did, like your dad did, and
Yeah.
they get the results.
You
So,
know,
oh, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, and I think an important thing is we, we are very lucky and fortunate to have adapted it, to taken that and ran with it, and I see a lot of it out there that people kind of oftentimes they get a part of this lifestyle and they get it and they're like yes, and but then they kind of like shun the people that aren't following exactly what they're doing, and it's
Right,
like, if people gave other people more grace and understanding and subtle encouragement, and instead of like judging, like, hey, why aren't you doing this, why can't you do this, I did this, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that just causes people to shell up and like really turn them off and not even want to be a part of it. I was watching one of your videos before we came on about how, people want to disassociate from even being called vegan or like
right.
being a part of the vegan. And I can see why, and in this instance, people with the plant-based and going the raw and everything, they can kind of like associated with being people wanting to be aggressive and being like, hey, you're not doing the same thing I'm doing. This is the way to do it. I know it works. And it's like they don't even want anything to do with it after being kind of judged or, you
Right.
know. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that's one of the things that we should, kind of focus on, giving people grace, even if they're having that hamburger, they're in the Chick-fil-A line every time, or you see them at the lunchroom and they're having the same thing. It's like, you know what? You just be that positive example, lend them some advice if they ask for it, and then you can go all in. And I stopped approaching the people a long time ago because I just felt I saw that way, and it was coming from a place of a good heart. I was just generally caring, but anymore I kind of wait for them to kind of approach. And then you can kind of give it to them. Even then, sometimes you start telling them after they've approached, and they're like, "Okay, never mind, never mind." But
Yeah.
you just got to be good.
It's interesting because I don't know if you had heard that part of Ted's story was that he got into it because he had horrible acne.
Yeah.
And so
Uh-huh.
I thought about asking him from his perspective, if a woman that he didn't know had approached him, like what would be the right thing to say? Because I mean, I would love to help so many people, and
Yeah.
it's like ask him a question like, would you like some help with your skin? I can help, give you some tips, and you could clear it up real quick, and without it's sensitive. So,
It
anyway, I
is.
thought about asking Ted, like, because he was young,
Yeah.
I think, in his early 20s, maybe late teens, when he was struggling with all the acne. And so, yeah, that
Hmm.
thought crossed my mind of asking, like, so if somebody had come up to you and they knew about the raw foods lifestyle that ultimately cured Ted's acne issue, what would be a good thing for them to say? Like, what could they have said that would have made you feel not judged or embarrassed, but like hopeful and receptive? So.
That's exactly. It's like it's a touchy one because no matter how kind you are and good intended, people, you know how people are, they're gonna spin it and they feel attacked or feel embarrassed or ashamed or something like that. It's just, yeah, but when you have the answer, and so I don't know. The most success I've seen is people who approach me and I kind of give them time and I want to. There's people that I'm like, gosh, you know what? Let's just dive into it. Just don't care about what they think. You're gonna help save their life. But it's like, does it work that way? I think the most success I've ever seen is when they want it, and
Mhm.
but it's like kind of like, tugs at you because you want to help and save everybody, but that's just not the reality. We can't, we want to, but so
So on that note, just for people that are watching, maybe we could recap, so people have something to take away that they could go
sure.
forward with. So maybe we could recap like what your dad's protocol was. And I know you mentioned when you were talking to Dan,
Hmm.
uh, some other things that you that you were getting. So we could maybe talk just a little bit about that, because I mean, this is enzymes is like at the heart. Other
Yeah,
than biophotons, I would say biophotons is number one because that's the sunshine. And then
sure.
number two, as far as detoxification, healing, getting lean, getting fit, raw living foods, the whole thing, the core of that is enzymes. And
Yes.
so, yeah, maybe you could just kind of walk us through the protocol that like the full protocol that your dad did,
Hmm.
knowing that people don't have to follow any specific one I mean, there's a lot of ways to do this, but we
Sure.
can just plant some seeds. And then also I'll mention that I have a juice cleanse guide that I'll link below this video as well. So if people want to, like, if they've never done any kind of juicing, or if they've just done a little bit and they want to go a little deeper, it gives recipes and how much to drink and kind of that whole protocol so they can get into juicing. So I'll link that below. And then, yeah, maybe you can tell us like the full thing, what you did with your dad.
Sure. Yeah. So day one, got the juicer and I was batch juicing for him. We were going 3 days, 4 days if we needed to stretch it. Like I said, it was a cold press juicer. You could keep that for 4 days. So, my dad was drinking anywhere from 4 to 6 32-ounce jars of juice. He was doing green juices. I liked getting the greens in there. But then I was going for the heavy calories. So we were doing apple juice, apple, carrot, lemon, ginger. We were doing watermelon juices. If I did the watermelon juices, he had to have a minimum of 64 ounces because there's not a lot of calories, but there is a lot of energy and a lot of cleansing and pulling effects, astringent. We were also doing let's see. Oh, and he was doing heavy grape juice as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
So he was getting calories. He was getting probably roughly about 2,400 calories a day from fresh juices. Like I said, 4 to 6 juices every single day. And then on top of that, he was doing the cleanse powder. So he would do the cleanse powder first thing in the morning. This would be after his water meal and
Mhm.
then his celery juice. Then he would do 3 scoops of the. I know 3 scoops. Yeah, 3 scoops of the cleanse. I know. When I was talking to Dan, I was like, "Yeah, I kind of eased him on in," and Dan was like, "Boy, that's not easing anybody into anything." But so we would.
That's your easy, he says.
That's my yeah, exactly. So, but we would
But
do.
see, he's also like an all-in kind of
He
guy
is.
too. So
Yes.
I think
Yep.
the people that really like to go all in, get extreme, and but that's what works. That
It
kind of
is.
approach is what gets results.
Yeah,
So.
and as you'll find, and you cannot overdo enzymes. You cannot do it. You can't take too many. And like he said, and Lou Corona has stated, they've tried to. They've done experiments. I haven't gone to the extent, but I was sitting on a bag of like, oh, there's probably about 100 enzymes left in here. I just had a meal it was a cooked meal. It was very benign, all plant-based and everything. But I'm like, you know what? 100 enzymes. Let's see what happens. Boom. Oh, it was fabulous. You felt phenomenal, and you can't do too many, enzymes. But so we would do the 3 scoops of the cleanse with his first juice, which was usually an orange juice, because I
Mhm.
liked what Dan said about orange juice or grapefruit juice was always the most powerful for the cleanse powder. So we would do that, and then his second juice of the day would be a combination of the herbal blood and the purazyme. And
Mhm.
so the herbal blood obviously is the parasite cleanse, and then the purazyme is the therapeutic digestive enzymes that allowed to break down any of those undigested matters where those parasites are hiding at. They love it. They are thriving in that acid waste, like beyond. They're laying their eggs. They're pooping, they're peeing, they're vomiting, they're doing all their stuff that they love to do, to keep you not feeling good, so that you want to consume all those foods that give them
They
their
want to be
meal.
fed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They want to be fed. They know, so that, yeah, that was his second juice, with the therapeutic purazyme with the herbal blood. We were attacking the parasites, and we were attacking and breaking down all that undigested food matter and biofilms, all that kind of stuff. So and then later on in the day, he would have the Pure Life, and that was the super enhanced, enzyme enhanced probiotic, and that was to
Mhm.
just recalibrate and re-inoculate his gut after having not been so good to it all those years, now you're infusing all those wonderful living probiotics that's now gonna, reset your gut microbiome. Like we had talked about, healthy gut equals a healthy mind, healthy gut. You're able to keep that consistent. So he was doing all that, and I had him doing 20 Purazyme and 20 herbal blood with his second juice, which is, most people don't ever go to that level, but I was hitting it very hard. And then he
The
was doing,
therapeutic doses,
yes,
really.
yeah,
Yeah.
the therapeutic doses, and he was seeing phenomenal results. Just eliminating waste matter in the amounts you wouldn't even think was humanly possible, right? And it's from all over the body too. It's not just like in your intestinal tract. Like you have, lymphatic vessels all over. I have these great posters of the lymphatic system in the human body. They wouldn't believe that that's possible. You have 10 times as many lymphatic vessels as you do blood vessels. And they're everywhere. So you're now eliminating those toxins out of your brain, out of all your tissues, everywhere throughout your body, head to toe. Um, so yeah, that's what's so good about the Purazyme. And then yeah, that breaks away all those hiding spots for the parasites to now be attacked and eliminated, along with their eggs as well. Because a lot of the parasite protocols out there, they attack the worms, but they don't go towards the eggs, and the herbal blood does that. So eliminate all that kind of stuff, get all that acidosis out of your body, and then re-inoculate your gut with the Pure Life.
Right.
It's a pretty powerful protocol. And then if he needed another juice at night, if he was feeling a little bit like, oh, not thirsty, but like you just need something, I was like, yeah, have another juice. You can't have too much. And he would usually end it with like a grape juice or, any one of those concoctions he wanted. So we did that, and then added the Rick Simpson at day 30, and did that over and over. It was like riding a bike. You weren't reinventing the wheel. Once you got on the protocol, you knew what you were going to do every day in and day out, day in and day out. Had him jumping on the rebounder. I started him off, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, and he took to it. He loved it so much. He was like, I'm doing 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. I'm like, Dad, you don't need to do that much. It's okay. And he was walking in the meantime. He was doing his skin brushing. A lot of people might not agree with this, but I had him on coffee enemas as well, to help, produce all that glutathione and help really get that bile production and just flush all of his small intestines and everything. And it was aiding in his detoxification as well. So if he was having like, oh man, I feel I have a little bit of a headache or my neck tension and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, massage him, do all that kind of stuff, skin brush, help yourself. But I'm like, okay, let's get you doing some coffee enemas and help you remove some of those toxins. And it works. And it got him
Yeah.
feeling better. And it was like, gosh, it's like, then he really started enjoying how he was feeling. He was feeling super good, super hydrated, just tons of energy. And we did that day after day after day until his 90 days was up, and he was just,
A new
clean bill of
man.
health. Yeah, new man, clean bill of health, slender, super happy. Like, we had some really good conversations. Um, and he told me a lot of stuff I had no idea about, and emotional
That was
stuff.
the stuff. So we
Oh,
talked about this, the things started
yes.
coming up. So he did have that
Oh
experience.
my gosh, yes. Every single one of my clients, including myself. And I've done this for the past 10 years, a juice cleanse, sometimes twice a year. Every single time it's like you hit a point, and it's never the same. No cleanse is ever the same. You release
Mhm.
toxins when they're supposed to come out at different times. Every single time. I was an emotional wreck some days. And then you don't know why. You don't I could feel it coming on. You could feel it like a train, like you can hear a train in the distance. I'm like, oh boy, I know what this is now. I've been through this once or twice, and you can feel it coming, and you can't do anything about it, and you just give up. You just give
Surrender.
yourself
Yeah.
up, just allow yourself to feel, and then all of a sudden you start crying for an unknown reason. Sometimes
Mhm.
I wasn't even thinking sad things. It was just like your body takes over and it
Release.
needs to release.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
And you know, depending on a lot where you were at when you were eating, you're emotionally eating maybe at some point in your life, that's tucked down in a corner of your colon somewhere. And when that gets dislodged and passed, it releases those emotions that you were feeling
Mhm.
at the time. And it's just, you gotta bring it to the surface. And it's not easy. And a lot of the times it's hard. But when you bring it to the surface and you look it square in the eyes, you deal with it and you release it, then it's gone, and you feel 10 times better than that feeling you before when you thought you were feeling so great, and it's
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, I feel even better. So it's almost like you look forward to it in a weird way because you're going to release and you're going to heal from some of that trauma or
And then
emotional. Yeah.
yeah, and then take things to the next level. So you kind of know
Yes.
at the other, at the other side of that, there's an opening. And I think,
Absolutely.
we were talking about this earlier. This is really one of the most powerful pieces. And I think of it kind of like the monster in the closet. So, the
Hmm.
kids laying in bed and they're terrified and they're like, oh, but if you just get up and face it, there's never any, it's like a shadow.
Yeah, you're
That's why
right.
they call it shadow work, is none of these things are actually that big and scary, but
Right.
people, it's the chronic avoidance that keeps people in the unhealthy cycles. And so
Yes.
this is a superpower, learning emotional alchemy and how to have just the courage to go into that and face
Yeah.
it. And then it actually releases itself. We were talking earlier
Hmm.
about the psychological method of like psychoanalytic or talk therapy, where you just keep the story going. I don't know if you're familiar with Eckhart Tolle, but
Oh yeah.
the
Yes.
old way of therapy, it's like, let me tell the story over and over and over and just keep reinforcing that identity, rather than the yogic method, which is let's just feel the energy, the energy field in the body and see what's there and just allow it to move. And it can look like, I mean, when I'm working with clients, sometimes it's crying, sometimes it's yelling. Sometimes I had one lady I was working with, her, she was like, but just to kind of move that energy that maybe wasn't appropriate in the office meeting, or when you were a
Sure.
kid, you couldn't talk back, or whatever the case may be. So all that has to come out as well. So it's not just the mucoid plaque and the gut stagnation and all that, but it's the mental emotional stagnation that our society, we're not really properly digesting our foods. We're not properly digesting our mental impressions or our emotions. So this is
Right.
a holistic path, and that's why I really resonated with you. And I just knew intuitively from that talk that you did with Dan, and then just looking a little bit, it's like, okay, you see that big picture, that holistic approach, and changing lives. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
super powerful, and I'm really happy we connected and that I met you. And
Yes.
I
Same
would love
here.
to do more of this. I would love to do, more talks. We could maybe pick something, a specific subject and go a little bit deeper, because this was kind of an overview thing. But as we wrap
Yeah.
up here, maybe you could just share with people the best way to get in touch with you. If they just want more information, or if they want your help, or whatever the case may be, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. I'm old school, so you could always contact me on my email, thebeautifulhealingtruth@gmail.com. Or if anybody's interested, I am giving away a free 3-day juice cleanse protocol PDF. If you go over to my Facebook group page, The Beautiful Healing Truth, you message me down there. Message me the word reset, and I will get your information, and I will send you over my free 3-day juice protocol, and it has everything from day one all the way through, every single modality, my supplements I recommend, and list of juices, the recipes, and so much more in there. And you can all get that through my Facebook group page right now. So.
Yeah, and I highly recommend going and connecting with Matt, because as we talked about, and you can see, he's been doing this, as have I, for over 10 years.
Yeah.
He's lived it. So a lot of people don't necessarily live what they teach, unfortunately. So he's lived it, and is having success guiding other people through it as well. So yeah, beautiful conversation. And also, as I mentioned, I have that juice cleanse guide that I'll link below, and I'll link also all the stuff for Matt below. And that same thing, that juice cleanse guide gives you the full protocol, how much juice to drink, a whole bunch of juice recipes. And it talks about creating that sacred space so that you can go through that mental emotional detox as well, and really have that holistic, multidimensional full being healing, so that you can step forward like Matt and so many others and really bring your gifts out into the world. Because I feel like this is a time for people to bring what they have inside. There's a lot of people out there that it's like this little flower, and I
Yeah,
feel like the sun is coming up, like the spring is coming on humanity, and there's
it
just
is.
so many people opening up to share whatever's in there. And like my client, Celeste, who, started doing her animal intuitive readings and all of that, it's like people are coming forward, and a big way of stepping into that and stepping and coming into alignment with why you're here and with your larger purpose is getting in alignment with your body, getting your body right with nature, right with the sun, right with the earth, and doing some of that inner alchemy that we've been talking about so that you are in a good space, you're centered, you feel good, you feel positive, you're radiating that light. And naturally, those bees and butterflies are going to come to that flower and you're going to have that to give. And that is, as Matt mentioned with his family and just the people he's worked with, that's the deepest fulfillment, is to really be part of this human family where we're all supporting each other to rise.
Yeah, yeah, there is an awakening, and it really is happening right now. We're entering a new world, a new earth, and so many people are coming out and realizing that there is a different way and there is a better way, and it's a way of through health and through love and vibrancy and energy and frequency. And if we just give each other grace, support each other, be kinder, and really encourage and lift people up when you see them trying to improve their lives. I think we can get to a huge breakthrough. And I think we will, no matter what. We will be there. We're entering that new world right now. So,
Yeah, it's automatic. You can't turn back. It's already started. It's
yep,
automatic.
yep, that's true.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Matt. I totally loved this conversation. And for anybody listening, if you feel like, whoa, that was a lot of information, or where do I start? Definitely reach out to me or Matt. We'd be happy to put you on the right path. And really, you just need to start with something. It could be as easy as just adding a juice into whatever it is you're doing. Adding some enzymes, even if you're eating just 100% cooked food. In fact, especially if you're eating 100% cooked food, get on, and I'll put a link to these as well below the video. And yeah, I mean, we're behind you 1,000%. We support you in your success. And yeah, I look forward to our next conversation. So thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. I really appreciate the time. It was great.
Okay. Cheers. See you next
Yep.
time.
Bye bye.